We can revere the masters. I do, and I take refuge in them. Am I somehow different or not going to make it or of a different, whatever? No. Every great master has said, these things and more you too shall do. So go do, go be your brilliant self, your brilliant shining self. I think I've said it lots of times, but it comes to mind every time when I kind of enter this zone. My little 4-year-old girl drawing this picture of the great beingness beaming down through her crown chakra. She knew nothing about that, out through her heart. And I said, Hey, Adri, what is that? Well, Mom, God gives me my brilliancies. And then my brilliancies flow through my heart and out into the world. And I was like, Amen, sister. Yes. But just naturally, she knew they weren't hers. They were hers, but they were naturally coming from the source of all that is as her. But in our Western independence, boy, I grew up on a cattle ranch, like I got this in spades. Our friend Elizabeth calls it Cowgirl Jenny when we run into it in sessions. Cowgirl Jenny is going to get it done. I mean, we have convinced ourselves that we're doing everything. We are the bottom line rather than like we're enjoying the experience of the sense of doing. Look at our hands, they're made for it. We've just convinced ourselves, and then we've all decided to like round up around it and orbit it, this convention of either not good at the because of what I read it, if we adopt the mask, the costume, the appearance as essential, then we are in, I got to defend it. I live in a world of scarcity. And usually at the foundation of it is I'm not good because we don't have a sense anymore of of the divinity of expression. I'm not good. Or we've covered the I'm not good really thoroughly with like, I'm the best freaking thing around, man. And I'm doing the whole thing. The narcissism that is just rampant is based in I am not good. So I'm going to come on real big because I feel existentially small. It's just a hairbreadth of a change in perspective. Just a hairbreadth. But that independent thing that we value so deeply, and I mean, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be functional, upright human beings. That's not what I'm saying. But the belief in like our existence outside of existence itself, outside of the animating power of existence, there's a me juggling, trying to keep the balls in the air. That, has, well, that sense, that dedicated sense of separation, that dedicated sense of separation. I'm having this, I am doing this, I am owning this. It has changed the landscape, you know, so dramatically that, many of us have a hard time remembering. But, Sharon always says it's getting easier and easier, and she sees it in retreats, and I think it is. I think it is. I see it all the time, and I experience it. The capacity. the capacity to live, relatively live as the power, the animating power, call it love, uncaused love, call it what you will, Shakti Ma, whatever. To live as that in a relational way is it's coming. It's not arising new, it's original. What we think of as new is original. It's original. And it's everyone's heart's desire. It's in the heart of all being to remember itself, as a wholeness that is not divided or separated in any way. And its essence from the ground of no thing, empty potential, nothing but just potential. Oh my God, have you experienced that? Woo. Rising up into existence. That power is directly experienced when we are able, when the capacity begins to come online to face the fear of letting go of that separate feeling and allowing what actually is. And it's not that we haven't experienced it before. We experience it in times of our lives when we say, I was stood still, meaning the mind conceptualizing, narrating mind went offline. And there's nothing there. And yet everything is available, and beauty is, and love is, and peace is, and harmony is. It is. It's not something we're going to get to when steps A, B, C, D, and E have been finished. It is. And then it may move us in all kinds of very fierce ways. I'm not, very fierce ways. Because the return to love, not that we were ever away from it, but it feels kind of like a return, is a fierce, it doesn't have conditions. It's not like it's going to dim itself to fit if it's naked and the instrument is unadorned, uncomplicated, unidentified, shining is as it is, right? And the humanness, it's not a license to just be like, Jennifer said I can just do whatever I move to do and say whatever it will never act against itself. If we're acting against something else, then it doesn't matter. We just know that there are beliefs that are coloring the appearance because it doesn't act against itself. But is it 100% authentic and sincere? Yes, not out of a choice, but because it is what it is. It is what it is. It doesn't have a choice but to be what it is. The shining, the light that lights up the world. I think that was like a George Harrison song. I loved that song. I might listen to it again. The light that lights the world. I'm going to read something from Thomas Merton and then we're going to take a break. It's in this Mary Magdalene book of Cynthia Bourgeault's. But she quotes Thomas Merton here, who was a contemporary Christian monk, but he was also, oh, who was the Buddhist person he was like very intimately connected with? I can't remember, but he had transcended the idea that there's only my path and it is the right path. You know, he understood that all paths lead up the mountain. At the center of our being is a point or nothingness, which is untouched by mistakenness and illusion. A point of pure truth, which belongs entirely to God. I'm going to use the word God because that's what he would use for source, the ground, whatever. It belongs entirely to God, which is never at our disposal, from which God disposes of our lives, which is inaccessible to the fantasies of our own mind or the brutalities of a personal will. This little point of nothingness and of absolute poverty is the pure glory of God in us. It is, so to speak, the name written in us as our poverty, as our indigence, as our dependence, as our son and daughtership. It is like a pure diamond blazing with the invisible light of heaven. That's the truth. That we are that. And we are so fortunate to be able to sit here and actually live what love can do. Live as that. Look at this. I mean, Barb and I were reflecting on the days we would sit in her living room, kind of twiddling our thumbs after we'd invited people to potlucks. And here we all are. Jan remembers. Here we all are. We're doing this, and we're not. Life is doing it, and it feels like a something, and an everything, and a nothing,